I'm Chuck Olenek. I'm a reenactor. And for 36 years in the classroom, I used my reenacting skills and talents to bring history to life for my students. And that would involve wearing the garb, that would involve bringing in artifacts, both original and replicated, and letting students handle them and to just get a feel for something from the time period. And now I have an entire room full of garb at the house, a passion for bringing history to life, and a desire to preserve landmarks. So what I'm engaged in right now is my mission Odyssey. I've had to change my plans. Originally, I was going to drive down to San Diego and do, just like anybody else who does the mission run, they do one savage burn up the coast and they visit the 21 missions of Alta California, and maybe they throw in an Asistencia. And I decided my plan has to be bigger. So I knew of at least 3 Asistencias during my research, and then 4 Presidios. Then it became 5 Presidios when I dug a little further. And then I discovered there were other Asistencias. One of them is on the base at Camp Pendleton, and so I probably can't get there. And there's another in Santa Margarita that's on private land, so I'll have to try to get permission. There's one under a freeway in Ventura County, so there's just a marker. And some others are just markers. And I've decided I have to visit each of these and do some sort of visual record. So this is my mission Odyssey. My first leg of the journey began at Asistencia San Bernardino, which is actually in Redlands, and I'm now traveling the 62 miles to the Asistencia of Mission San Luis Rey, which is in Oceanside, and the Asistencia is Asistencia San Antonio de Paula, which some people prefer to refer to as Mission San Antonio de Paula. So I hope you will stick with me on this journey. In August of 1795, Padre Juan Mariner and Captain Juan Pablo Grijalva ended up exploring the backcountry of San Diego County. They were sent from Mission San Diego and they were looking for other suitable sites. And they followed the course of the San Diego River and went through the backcountry and found in the Paula Valley a place that would have been fairly suitable. It was later decided that this wouldn't be the site for the next mission. They ended up building that over at Mission San Luis Rey. But a rancho at least was established around 1810, at least that's what documents say. In 1816, the Asistencia San Antonio de Paula was established, and it was seen as what was going to be a planned chain of inland missions, because 2 years later over at Santa Isabel, another Asistencia is going to be established. That was about 28 miles away to the southeast. To the north, 62 miles away, Asistencia San Bernardino de Sena was established. So these were supposed to grow up into missions. That didn't quite happen. The area prospered. There were up to 1,300 converts that were ministered to, from the site. Small town had grown up around the Asistencia, and there's a description from 1827. At a distance of 7 leagues toward the northeast, San Luis Rey has a station called San Antonio de Paula with a church, dwellings, and granaries, and with a few fields where wheat, corn, beans, garbanzos, and other plants are grown. There is also a vineyard and an orchard of various fruits and olives, for which there is sufficient irrigation. Though it lacked a resident priest, Paula in turn served as the mother mission to chapels in Coahuila, La Jolla, Palma, Pachanga, Rincon, Santa Rosa, and Temecula. Secularization was not kind to the Paula area, which was turned over to Pio Pico, who treated the Luiseños harshly. There is a quote of Senor Pico demanded that if we so much as passed within his view, we were to take off our hats. His grazing his own livestock on their lands also led to violent opposition, which may have resulted in the people of Paula supporting the Americans during the Mexican War. While Paula was away from the main lines of travel, the Luiseño and the priest tried to keep the chapel in repair. However, William Veal received a patent on the lands and buildings of the Asistencia, which really irritated the Luiseños. His Catholic wife persuaded him to give the chapel, 2 rooms, and the cemetery, which contained the hundreds of Indian neophyte converts and early California settlers, to the church. What's getting me on the cross here is, if you look closely, you see 3 nails. So here's what happens when you are following history, following the threads, and you tug on one just to see where it goes, and you figure it's a short little thread. When I was visiting San Antonio de Paula, I realized, in 1903, the Cupeno got moved from their lands and dumped on what became the Paula Reservation. And the U.S. government said, here, live here. Yeah, you guys will get along. You're native Californians, you'll like each other. And so I realized, now that I'm sort of vaguely in the area, I'm going to end up going to the former homeland of the Cupeno, just because I'm curious and I want to follow the threads and I want to nail everything down. This is a speech from Cecilio Blacktooth, leader of the principal Indian village on Warner's Ranch, which he gave a year before his tribe's forced removal to the Paula Valley. We thank you for coming here to talk to us in a way we can understand. It is the first time anyone has done so. You ask us to think what place we like next best to this place where we always live. You see that graveyard over there? There are our fathers and our grandfathers. You see that Eagle Nest Mountain and that Rabbit Hole Mountain? When God made them, he gave this place to us. We have always been here. We do not care for any other place. It may be good, but it is not ours. We have always lived here. We would rather die here. Our fathers did. We cannot leave them. Our children born here, how can we go away? If you give us the best place in the world, it is not so good for us as this. My people cannot go anywhere else. They cannot live anywhere else. Here they always live. Their people always live here. There is no other place. This is our home. We ask you to get it for us. If Harvey Downey say he owned this place, that is wrong. The Indian's always here. We do not go on his land. We stay here on ours. Everybody knows this Indian land. These hot springs, always Indian.
We cannot live anywhere else. We were born here and our fathers are buried here. We do not think of any place after this. We want this place and not another place. There is no other place for us. We do not want you to buy any other place for us. If you will not buy this place, we will go into the mountains like quail and die there. The old people and the women and the children. Let the government be glad and proud. It can kill us. We do not fight. We do what it says. If we cannot live here, we want to go into those mountains and die. We do not want any other home.
When the Asistancia at San Antonio de Paula was being restored, being reestablished, a lot of photographs of the interior and of the building itself were examined so that the restorers could get it right when they rebuilt this place. And it was funny that they noticed, they were looking at the whitewashed walls, but they looked at the old photographs and they noticed the Native American designs. And it turned out that a lot of those designs were underneath the whitewash, and there was enough of an outcry done that the designs were reestablished, repainted, and some new ones were added. So, one step for indigenous peoples reclaiming their culture. Using photographs of the interior of the chapel from 1897, the interior was restored and the various symbols and motifs were repainted by Indian artist Antonio Lugo. And they sit today with the 17th century hand-carved wooden crucifix. I just came in from praying in the Asistencia at Paula. Just the drive in here and walking these grounds. I haven't been hit this hard in a lot of years. The closest I can liken it to is visiting the Museum of Tolerance. And I'm just overwhelmed. But I went in and I prayed for my family. And this is what I plan to do in each of the missions. I'm going to confess to an emotional freak out. I had studied the missions, I'd studied colonization, I'd studied this sort of thing, and I knew intellectually about the effects that the Spanish had upon the native Californian cultures, shattering them. I knew about the genocides, I knew about the widespread disease and the effects that it had. But that's all up here, intellectually. And even though I'd been to other missions, you keep that in the back of your head and go, yes, this is a terrible thing, this is horrible. It didn't hit here until I walked into Paula, until I walked into Asistencia San Antonio de Paula. And I don't know exactly which part hit me the most, whether it was the native painted designs on the walls, or the uneven flooring within the chapel itself, worn by so many feet, so many shoes, people that have passed through there. Or if it was the cemetery, knowing that there are simply vast numbers of neophytes that were buried there along with the early settlers, and you don't really get a number of just how many, which makes you wonder, how many deep are they? And that's, I think those factors right there hit me the hardest emotionally, because I understand when your culture is threatened. My family came from a culture where their language was suppressed, and just I had to say it. I had to get it off my chest. It hit me, and I'll never look at the missions the same way again. Okay, so far, 2 Asistencias down, second leg of the journey complete of the Mission Odyssey, and now to go the 28 miles, according to Google Maps, to Asistencia, Santa Isabel. I hope you continue following me on this journey.